Welcome guys! Today we're getting close to having a functioning AK. And today we're doing our trigger guard. We are riveting in the trigger guard, and as you can see, the trigger guard piece is in. Now, it's very important for you to have a vise where it's deep. The one with the little anvil on the side, it closes. You want to make sure that you have about at least 3 inches so that it can close. And on this side, it's about 5.5 inches. This side, 3 inches. And this is really important because, like I said, you have this space on the bottom. Now here, we have the trigger guard. And as you can see, I place the rivets inside. Now these 4, they're standard rivets. And if you have, we're building an AKM, which is the most AKs. So these 4 standard rivets, and this one is the smallest rivet in the pack. And I wanted to show you guys the tool this way so that you guys didn't have to see me juggling with rivets. And I also wanted to show it to you this way because there's something very important to know. Now, this piece, your reinforcement plate, has a piece that jumps up a little bit. Now you're going to want that on your operating side, which is the right side. So go ahead and place that right there in case you're doing it with me right now or doing your homework and doing it later. Just know that this piece goes up, and you definitely want to get that right because you want your magazine to work. You want to get it done right. Now, when I first started this, I did make a mistake. I had my, and this is going to be interesting because I included this in, and I'm going to have a video. I shot a video on how to do it. Now, I started this. See the scope rail up? I had to drill out the hole for the scope rail because if you're using this tool, which I do suggest, and I suggest this and this tool as well, because you want to do your rivets right. You don't want to do it with an air gun, because believe me, if you make a mistake and you want to take out a rivet, on top of wanting it to look good, if you need to take out a rivet, you want that rivet to be done well so that you can just use the drill press or your hand drill and drill out the rivet cleanly. If not, it's going to be a mess. Now, beside that, I was able to get it straightened out, and so that's about that. Now, I'll do more on that later. And one more thing, guys, I want to make sure you guys know that it's really recommended if you're going to be using this to build several AKs, and I don't see why not. If you're the type who likes to build rifles, which I am, you got to use extreme pressure grease to keep the longevity of the tool. And this receiver is going to go up on top, and we're going to slowly put the pieces on top so that you guys can see what's up. Okay guys, here's where the fun begins. I'm going to place these in the general spots, and I have it slanted a little bit, so hopefully you can see. Maybe you can't, but the rivets are sticking out there. You can see the rear trigger guard rivet. This is the back of the receiver. This is the front. And what I'm talking about with the scope rail, you'll see it. Now, this is going to work, but I was a little absent-minded and put in the scope rail. And this is why you always want to do the rivets right. So you're going to have a screw come in here to hold it down, and you're going to screw that all the way in. Okay, you're also going to have the same thing, just like this. It's a screw, and you're going to place that in the back to hold it in. Now, my ability to hold that in on this side, I feel is going to be a little bit threatened, but it's still going to work. On top of that, we're going to have these tools. These little black squares, and this solid one is going to go into the bottom of the receiver, or you could use this one and sit it on top of your rivets. And I'm going to place that right there. I'm going to use the solid one, but you have to kind of bang it in a little bit. So for now, I'm going to place this one in, which I don't see why you couldn't use this one. So that goes in, and it stands on top of our 4 rivets. Boom, boom, boom. This is why I skipped the fumbling around parts. Okay, so that's on top of those 4 rivets. As you notice, I haven't screwed these in yet because, you know, I don't think you guys want to see me screw that in for 10 minutes. And remember the extreme pressure grease? This part is going to sit across your support rivet, and it's going to be used to crush. Now this is essentially working as a press, because similar to the rear trunnion tool that we worked, you see the holes here and here? We're going to put this, which is, it's 2 screws. We push in here, and we push in here, and it's going to use that to push this black thing underneath it down on the plate to crush the rivet down. And tools you'll need to do this is, I recommend having a 3/4 inch 3/4 inch ratchet, and voila. So first we're going to do this side, and then we're going to do the back, and we're going to have our trigger guard in just like that. It's easy as turning a ratchet, my friends. There is no excuses not to build that rifle. So let's get to it, gentlemen. Okay, gentlemen, I don't want anyone sitting there like, what is he talking about? I have the black tile, for lack of a better term, on the bottom. I have the 2 screws holding in the receiver. I do have limited function here because of my mistake with the scope rail. And I have this going on the center support rail, and these are going down across it. Got me? Got me. Alright. Alright, gentlemen, in order to do this, we must remember that I don't even have the tool at full capacity because I don't have the correct support in the back due to my negligence and foresight to not do the scope rail. So guys, if you're using this, put the scope rail after you do the trigger guard. Now you want to make sure these 2 are level. You want to make sure your vise is very tight, because out of all the ones you're gonna do, this one of the kitchen table build is going to be the one where you have to put the most amount of pressure. So let's get it done, gentlemen. 1, 2. I actually think that one needs to be a little more. 1. See? It's moving. Now I would, and it's recommended, to have this set in, but I'm trying to give you guys the greatest view I can, and not of my hands. See, you really have to put some effort into this one. It's that was a nice turn, and you want to keep them even because you don't want it crooked. I can tell this one needs a little more. And the way you tell when you're done is pretty much when you can't go anymore. So excuse me, I don't want to block your view, but it's almost unavoidable. But you get the picture. you screw these down as much as possible until your rivets are crushed. And that's about all, folks. And you see I don't have the support here because I put the scope rail, so don't do that. Do not do that. Okay guys, I wanted to point out to you that when I did the first one, I really couldn't put this in position because, and it goes here, I just have the black block in the way because I was going to move it over for you guys. It goes there, but I really couldn't put it into position because of this scope rail, and I had only riveted 2 of the scope rails, one through the receiver and one was attached to the rear trunnion. Since I was riveting the rear trunnion, I had to put part of the scope rail in. It's important to put your trigger guard in first. That way you don't get sucked into this, and save the rear trigger guard for later. Excuse me, the rear trunnion for later. Now, I want you guys to know that this tool worked perfectly with half the support that first time. Now, in the back, we have to put this, now to do the last one, all we gotta do is we're gonna just use that one support this time. If you were doing it, you would use both on the first 4, and that's a little frustrating doing with one hand, but now it's all good. We got it in the middle. Okay, now we take this black block and we set her down right here. We put it right in the middle. And another thing about that scope rail, where it's nothing against the tool, it's my lack of foresight, is that if I didn't take out the scope rail on this rear trunnion, I wouldn't have been able to put these rails this here. And I find it very, very, very amusing that I was able to get this amount of power from the tool when I did the first 4 of the trigger guard, the first 4 rivets, and it worked. And I'm going to show you guys, but this is the basic setup for the back. The back you can easily do without and you can't really put the support. I don't see how you could with the back. So we're going to do the back, and I just want to show you that goes here. Underneath is the black block with the same one we used for the front, and we have this square block right on top. Put this right in the middle, put the screws on top, and we ratchet it in. And I showed you guys the rivet once more, just so you see that my rivet is not done. See the rivet, my friends? You can see that it's up. Anyways, I'm gonna ratchet it in and we're gonna take a look. Alright guys, I figured you'd do a little bit more with me for the final product. See how that block, the curve of that block goes down, and it's on this tile, and we're crushing it. We're crushing. We're building rifles. We're crushing. We're doing great, and no one's as tough as us. If you want to feel the bottom, you can tell how far down your screws are so that you know if you're even. I also wanted to share that with you guys because right when I was doing this, I was wondering, am I even? And I can always tell by putting my hands underneath, so that's pretty neat. And I'm kind of amazed that even though I messed up and wasn't able to use the full support the first time, it was. See, now we're getting that resistance. And I don't think it's even going to be as tough as the first time around, since that was 4 rivets and this is 1. But we'll see. Yep. I have to push a little. You guys don't mind. You guys like crushing. What do? We crush. We build rifles. We get things done. We get the best tools, and we do the best work, and we have pride in our work. Ooh, look at that crunch. We're getting it done. Raw. Alright, I think a few more turns and we'll be done. I feel that down there. You can also feel down there to see how much space you have. We can do it. We can crunch her a little bit more. See, I don't want to put my hands in front of the whole thing. Crunch. Who likes crunching rivets? Crunch those rivets. Think of your enemies and crunch those rivets. Alright guys, I think it's about time to see our finished product. I know you do too. Oh my gosh, gentlemen. Check it out. Look at those rivets, completely flat. Let me check the other side. Ooh, flat. Ooh, flat. Rivets done. That was great work, gentlemen.